And what they've stated is they just stated this during the One Ocean Summit, that this ban will prevent this type of waste from being exported to destinations where sorting, recycling, or recovery cannot be assured.
Well, I guess they're just going to do it domestically then, because they already can't do it.
Well, my feeling is this: maybe we ought to be dealing with our own trash.
Yes. You know what might be even better than dealing with? Forcing companies to pay in advance for the trash that they generate that we have.
No, that makes sense.
You know what would be really nice? If a aluminum can was like in Japan, like you have these things everywhere. You can just like put cans in, you immediately get money back everywhere, and reduce the amount of the amount of plastics. Make it like only recyclable plastics are allowed to be made. That way, everyone is the hardest part of plastic is sorting out what can and can't be used. Styrofoam is like again, every time I throw any piece of styrofoam, I always have the exact same thought. No matter what I accomplish in my life, no matter what my kids accomplish, this will outlast anything I do. And I throw it away.
Amen. All right. One of the most evil things, moving on to workers' issues, one of the most evil things that I heard about during the worst days of our lockdowns here was the tipping scam. So many of the companies out there like Instacart, Amazon Fresh, that were doing grocery deliveries suddenly found themselves completely overwhelmed. Where it used to be you could get your groceries within 2 hours, in some days the wait times were extended to something around 5 days. It was just crazy. And one of the things that was happening is that because the drivers for these companies, particularly Instacart, are gig workers, what they were allowed to do was they were allowed to select the runs, grocery trips, based on how much the individual, the customer was willing to tip. The problem with that is that people were putting up massive tips, like saying, $20, $50, $100. And then as soon as the groceries were delivered, they were canceling the tip. And so that the delivery driver was only making the very low base pay. And that was just evil and wrong and despicable. And Instacart has decided that it's going to be adjusting the tip. Basically, what's going to happen is that the Instacart will cover the cost of a tip up to $10 if the customer removes the tip after delivery without reporting an issue, and also if a customer rates the shopper 5 stars, the app will prompt to add to the tip. My problem with this is, I think it's okay, but why are they doing this now? Instacart had a very lukewarm response, in my opinion, when these stories first started breaking a couple of years ago. And now they're saying, okay, we'll cover up to $10 and, we're going to encourage tipping for good performance, but a little too little, too late.
I actually don't even think this is a positive outcome. Because everyone that does these scams anyway, all they're going to do is go 3 stars. Driver was rude.
Well, there's less demand right now. There's less real serious demand at this point. My guess is that this might be in some areas where there are fewer delivery drivers, or on holidays where you have most of a thing. But it's still only $10.
But either way, I'm saying if someone's usually scams the tipping system, even like right now, I think one thing we've made clear is Instacart made their money. They made their biggest bet already.
Yeah.
And so even though, sure, it's already past this big breach of this happening, if it happens again or even now, all I hear when they say is, hey, if you rate it 5 stars and there's no issues, and you change your tip, well, then we're going to enforce it. So then everyone that's a scammer like that is already screwing these people over, their incentive is going to be 3 stars, driver was rude. And so I think that this change sounds like they're making a big change for people. I think it's actually going to lower people's ratings of these drivers.
It could very well. This is just, it really is pay a living wage. And if we had a system in this country where there was a social safety net, where there was adequate health care for all people, gig working might make a lot more sense. But right now, it is a way for large companies to maximize profits to shareholders and executives, and to rip off people who are just trying to make a living. And there we are.
Yeah. Again, this is the environment we're in, thanks to our heartless politicians who are at least owned by these corporations who make these rules.
That's crazy. It's like, I was talking with someone earlier about this. It's like, this is all happening around because of the year 1978. That's the biggest thing was it's back when corporations went from stakeholder to shareholder dependence. And the difference is stakeholder is your investors, your workers, management, the customers, the town and the areas that these businesses operate. And back then, like even CEO is a very different role. It was much more of a let's get everyone to work together and all these different parts of the company. And ever since we moved to shareholder, are you making 3% more in the last 90 days? The only thing that matters.
All right. This is actually kind of encouraging. The General Counsel of the National Labor Relations Board has issued a memo. This is the New York Times reporting. You can check out the link in the show notes. That it should be illegal, or that it is illegal, even though this has been allowed in the past. It has been illegal for employers to require workers to attend anti-union meetings.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. Yeah.
Okay, so I actually one time when at a job, I'll keep it nameless, but this was when I was still in college. I went to work for this corporation, and they sat all the new workers down, and they played this propaganda piece about why there should not be unions at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pure propaganda. No unions, no none of this. I'm like, geez, you guys are really against the unions, aren't you?
Yeah. I think that the other point that this attorney is making is that, even if we, or one point that's been made is that people might still feel pressured to attend the meetings, even if they're not required to attend. And there's that kind of group pressure that's going on as well. It's really discouraging to me when you have companies that don't want their workers to unionize. I think for me, it's an issue of why would you not want to be held accountable? Why would you want to have that much power over individuals? Why wouldn't you want your workers to organize in a way that and so to help to ensure that everybody's best interests are being assured here? And it's really discouraging to see this kind of resistance. And I've talked about this in the past where you've got these major companies. I call it, it's that woke union busting and that woke capitalism where they're perfectly willing to wave earth flags and rainbow flags and asking people to talk about race, but are not willing to step out of their way when their workers want to come together and organize and advocate for themselves.
Yeah. It's, everything is, and it's like, again, it's like if everything is declared and designed to be, if you can't make 3% every 90 days, well, you hate unions more than anything, because if worker cost goes up by 10%, you can't report a 3% increase in 90 days.
Did we have a Rockfin?
Yeah,
let's continue once the third story, and then we'll do the Rockfin.
Okay. This is a story that I'm kind of excited about because it's something that I have been reporting on for a while and mentioning for a while. And the issue here is the fact that workers are, people have been working from home for 2 years now, and that many people don't realize that there are added expenses when you work from home. And including, for example, higher utility costs. There are the costs of using your own equipment and your own devices for doing work, and that people don't seem to take this into consideration. Also, that people who are working from home, who are employees, don't enjoy the same kind of tax benefits that a self-employed person would for having a home office. Well, we've got a fascinating story here. Yahoo is reporting it. It's from the LA Times, however, that there are attorneys right now who are filing class action lawsuits over business expenses. And employers are going back to their employers and saying, hey, you need to be reimbursing me for these additional costs. And apparently these costs can add up between $50 to $100 a month when you're looking at things like telephone, internet, extra energy, office supplies. And this could be up to like $5,000 for every worker during the pandemic. And so there now are some lawyers who are getting out of there, getting out there and hustling and getting these workers to file class action suits against employers who have been taking advantage of this. You know, this is something that really kind of irritates me because I remember when I was in the corporate world and we went traveling, we were expected to effectively give our company, which was a major corporation owned by the Washington Post. We were engaged in behavior which is standard throughout corporate America, but we were expected to front all of our travel expenses, and then we would have to wait until the powers that be cut us a check. Oh my God. And this is very standard in corporate America. It absolutely is. But you've got major corporations who are taking advantage of interest-free loans from their employees. And this is just one way your employers are stealing your wages.
Yeah.
Think about it. You wonder why on this show I keep on telling you, don't trust HR. Don't participate in group activities where you're forced to give up details of your inner life to your employer in the name of employee development or so-called anti-racist or diversity trainings. You cannot trust your employer. This is just another example of why you cannot trust your employer, because your employer's interests are not the same as yours.
Again, this is why I think we all need to be moving, and Roger Meadows, I'm sure somewhere is agreeing with me on this, cooperative direction. Like, as much as, like, yes. like, unions are definitely better than not having anything at all. There's no question. But you still diverted interests. Unions want most of the profit pie to go to the workers, and in this case, really just healthcare costs. And management wants it to go to the profit and to the shareholders. Co-ops combine everyone's point of view and if everyone's an owner, everyone's getting a part of the profit, everyone's interests are aligned. That's the direction we need to be going.